Galaxy's Edge construction update. What's going on, everybody? It is Endgame day. Finally, it is here after 20 some odd days of me catching up and watching what has been deemed necessary. It's time. I am crazy excited. So we are at the theater, about to head in and watch this bad boy. And I am pumped, thoroughly concerned that I don't know if I'm prepared, but I feel I've done my homework. Hopefully we're good to go. Got a couple buddies showing up that are Marvel enthusiasts that will be able to fill in if I have any issues. So, got my gear on, time to rock and roll. "24 hours later." Alright folks, it has been 24 hours since I watched Endgame last night, and I've been noodling through everything that happened in that movie and wanted to bring you my spoiler-free reactions to that and my journey over the last 20 some odd days to introduce myself to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with special thanks to my good buddy Disney Dan. His channel will be linked below. But in that time frame, I had watched about a good dozen of the MCU movies that would be considered a prerequisite for Endgame, which I watched last evening, and I will tell you, it was epic. You must see this movie. If you are a fan of the MCU, you must. If you are thinking about becoming a fan of the MCU, the time and energy you will put in to getting to where you need to get to watch Endgame is worth it. Trust me, this was a 3-hour epic that wrapped everything up with a pretty decently nicely tied bow. So as I said, this is going to be a spoiler-free reaction video to Endgame. Not going to talk about any of the plot points, not going to talk about any of the characters in specifics, but just my reaction to the plot arc and kind of my overall reaction to whether or not this was something that I am happy that I did. Spoiler alert, it is. So first and foremost, as you all know, this is a 3-hour movie. This is Return of the King long. And honestly, it was tough to tell it was 3 hours. I know at one point there was a little lull in the action. I looked at my watch and we were well over an hour and 45 minutes into the flick, and I had no clue. So my biggest takeaway from this is such an emotionally charged movie, and not just sadness or happiness or whatever. It runs the gambit. The amount of scenes in the movie where you go from utter despair to literally laughing out loud because of a one-liner is it's massive. I can't believe that they pulled it off as well as they did, really toying with your emotions. There was also an overarching emotional arc to it, from the beginning to the end. You know, coming out of Infinity War, you don't necessarily know what to expect, but you assume that everyone's going to be starting down, and then we see where it goes from there. And unlike a lot of assumptions that are out there, that one was actually true. This is by far more difficult than I thought it was going to be, because all I want to do is talk to you about plot points and the awesomeness that is in this film throughout. It is fantastic. You have to see this movie. Bottom line is, you have to see this movie. To me, one of the other cool things I really liked about this is that if you look back at films like Winter Soldier and Ragnarok, there are other genres of film that they interweave with the epicness that is a massive comic book driven spectacular, and you get this really interesting combination. Like Winter Soldier is basically a spy movie in the MCU. You look at Ragnarok and it's basically, you know, a buddy comedy film in the MCU. Well, I don't want to go into what this one is in fear of spoiling it, but they did the same thing here, and I thought they did it ridiculously well, bringing in facets of what this other genre does well, interweaving it, and then getting back to that big epic ending that everyone expects this to be. It was done so masterfully. And I'm really gonna leave it there. You really have to go watch this movie. That's what it comes down to. But the other point I will touch on is, you know, there was a lot of time that I've, you know, put in the last 25 odd days to watch the required movies to be prepared for this film. And it was definitely a payoff for me, but for those of you that have invested a decade of your life into this, you will be extremely happy with the ending. So one other note, I did only watch, you know, basically 12 films leading up to Endgame. And I think that was the correct amount that I needed to watch, or they were the correct films that I needed to watch is probably a better way to say it. Did I miss some stuff? Probably. From some conversations post with some friends that have seen it, there were nods to films that I didn't watch. Not necessarily anything overarching, but little cameos and Easter eggs here and there, which frankly just gets me excited to go back, start over, watch the entirety of the Infinity Saga, if you will, and then end it all again with Endgame once it comes out on Blu-ray. So I have that to look forward to, which is nice. But if you take one thing away from this, go watch the darn movie. If it's not on your calendar, put it on your calendar. If you aren't into the MCU or have only watched X, Y, and Z flicks, get it done and then go watch this. This movie was that good. As a film, not as an ending to the Infinity Saga, but just in general, it was a very good film. So I implore you to do so. So that's it. I will be back at some point in the future with a spoiler-full review, conversation, something with other folks. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell to see when new videos go live. And if you could, and you like this, smash that thumbs up button. So thank you so much for watching. Hashtag don't spoil the Endgame. Go watch it, enjoy it, and we'll see you real soon.